If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or somebody who is interested in the property market, then the UK Property Market Stat Show is for you. My name is Christopher Watkin, and each week I'm joined by a special guest. This week it is the wonderful Rob Smith. We'll come to Rob in a second. Why should you watch this show, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the British are obsessed with the property market, and whenever the Land Registry put out any information, it's front page news. But I don't know if you know, ladies and gentlemen, the Land Registry are looking at sales that took place 10, 11 months ago. Whenever the Halifax and Nationwide put something out, that's from sales agreed 2 or 3 months ago. When Rightmove pushed something out, they're just talking about asking prices. If you want a complete picture of the property market with an up-to-date information while we're looking at last week, then this is the home for you, the UK Property Market Stat Show, a weekly show where I have a different guest. This week, I'm joined by the absolutely wonderful Rob Smith, who is the boss man for Hunters, Northwood and Whitegates, part of the Property Franchise Group. Rob's been in the business for an awful long time, and he certainly knows his onions. Thanks for joining me today, Rob.
Absolute pleasure to come back again. Thank you, Chris.
I think this is your fourth or fifth time, and you always offer great insight. So listen to him, ladies and gentlemen. He knows his stuff. We're looking at week 27 of, can you believe it? We're over halfway, my word. Week 27 of 2026, which is Monday, the 6th of July, all the way to include Sunday, the 12th of July. We will be comparing week 27 with other week 27s. We'll also be comparing year-to-date figures going all the way back to 2017. So if you want to know what's happening in the marketplace, forget your anecdotal evidence. This is cold, hard facts. The show itself lasts approximately 1 hour. The first half is where we look at the UK market, as we've already mentioned. And then the second half is that we deep dive into a particular town or city. And we analyse and find out who is the best estate agent and letting agent in that town. This week we're going to Northampton in Northamptonshire, which is the most southern county of the East Midlands region. And we are going to be analysing who is the best agent in that town by looking at various different metrics. We'll be using a piece of kit which is absolutely exceptional. And if you suffer from overvaluing or cheap fees, even if you're not from Northampton, you might want to watch that part of the show, because this piece of kit will show you who is the better estate agent. And if you're suffering from overvaluing or cheap fees and you're as good as you think you are, these have got data that backs it up. Right, Rob, without much further ado, shall we go and look at the UK market and just see what's happening out there in wonderful UK land?
Yep.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have not watched the show before, what I do is I just spend 30 seconds a minute on all the different metrics, and then we go over to Rob to find out what his thoughts are. This week, we've put onto the market 34,708 properties, and you can see on the graph now how that relates to all the other week 27s going back to 2017. The average price of a property coming onto the market is £426,000. In terms of year-to-date figures, we've just gone over the million mark in terms of the number of properties that have come onto the market, and that means that we are just slightly ahead of last year at 0. Let's just put the sums up here. 0.02% below last year. We are 4.5% ahead of 2026, and we are 12.1% ahead of pre-COVID 17, 18 and 19. And then I think the most important graph here is the white line there shows us what the weekly listings are, and we can compare that with all the other years. All the graphs I show you on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, are available to download on YouTube. If you go down to the right up, scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a link that says graphs, and you can download them. All I ask is you don't use them on social media, but please do use them internally or at valuations. Okay, let's go to Mr. Smith. What's your thoughts on these one, Rob?
I think the first key point is there's still plenty of volume, isn't there? There's plenty of appetite for vendors wanting to put their houses on the market. I and having looked at the stats most weeks through this year and previous, we are, not to be boring, I always use this word, we are in an extremely consistent marketplace, aren't we? Over the last, certainly for instructions over the last 5 years, the pattern is what the pattern is going to be. The numbers are what the numbers have previously been. The prices are very similar, I've noticed, to previous years. If you're not listing houses, then you need to ask yourself what you're doing about lead generation, because there's plenty of stock coming on. So if you're not listing, it's more to do with what you're not doing than what other people might be doing, I would say.
You're so right, and we say this most weeks, we're a broken record, but again, if you look at that graph, look at the white line, every single line, the shape is almost identical. It is like a tide. It just depends whereabouts it lifts or drops. As you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, in the first 2 or 3 months, listings go through the roof. Then we always have a dip for Easter. We have two dips for the May bank holiday, and then she'll slowly drift off downwards throughout the summer until we get to the end of August, where we have another dip because of August bank holiday, and then lift up again, and then a drift downwards. And I think the most important thing here is to actually ascertain, as Rob rightly says, is where is the line within the band. And you've got the band there and the band there, and whereabouts does it lie? And that is basically middle of the road, hence why the year to date figures on listings are as they are here. Okay, so it's just quite business as usual, isn't it?
It is. It is. There is still good vendor appetite. We've seen a bit more people make a decision in the last 4 to 6 weeks to come to market. It slowed a little bit for us in May and in early June, but again, for a July, I don't think we can argue with the volume that's coming
No, we
on the
can't.
market in
We
July.
can't.
It's not back in the day holiday period where July and August were horrific. You've still got a very good volume coming to market.
There's only one place in the UK where that doesn't happen, and that's London, inner London. They all tend to go on holidays in July and August, and London itself, especially in W postcode and SW postcode, really there's nothing happening at all. But outside of London, it's just business as usual. I'm sure. I mean, what's your thoughts on the fact that, we're filming this on Monday, the 13th of July. Obviously, we've got the semi-finals coming up on Wednesday, and do you think the World Cup has had any difference on anything?
To be honest with you, Chris, I don't think it has. Um, I can historically, years ago, if this had have happened, everything would have died a death. We would have had hardly any valuations, and the instructions and sales would have been through the floor, because we were a very volatile market, depending on what was in the newspapers and what was happening in the economy. It generally feels like, I'm not going to get all political because I can't do politics, but it all feels like everybody's ignoring what's going on in the world and just cracking on with their own lives to
Do
a
you,
degree.
do
Whether
you
it's Straits of Hormuz, whether it's Labour government, whatever it is, World Cup, it just feels like everyone's just getting on.
I have to. I think. Sorry, let me go again. You're right. Is Do you think that came from the post-pandemic? Everything was very sensitive. There was general elections. You could wave goodbye to a month. But 20A did some data previously on big sporting events, but I've seen none of it this year, and the stats are just within bounds. I mean, 4 years ago, I know it's post COVID, it affected the market by 15-20%. I've not seen that at all in the numbers. Hey, maybe we're just maturing as a population and we just get on with life.
Exactly.
Who
I
knows?
think, yeah. And how does these external events actually affect the average man in the street anyway? Let's be honest. They don't really.
It's almost we've become punch drunk to it. We
Yeah.
ignore it, just get on with life. Right, let's move on. Price reductions 25,394. The average price of a property coming down is 401,000, which again is in line. Let's just remind ourselves the average price coming on the market 442. So all you posh agents, why aren't you reducing your prices? Or you leaving? Isn't it interesting though that a property over £2 million only has a 1 in 4 chance of selling, whilst a property under £250,000 has a nearly 3 out of 4 chance of selling. Amazing, isn't it? Here you go. Let's move on. The percentage of sales stock that got reduced last month, 14.3%. Um, again, is reducing 14.3% of the houses good enough when you consider that our stock levels are
Record, aren't they, almost?
760,000?
Yeah, I don't think it is anywhere. Again, a broken record on price reductions. It's not enough, and then probably not soon enough, and they're not big enough. And I know that's not what vendors want to hear, but there's no point in doing a price reduction if it's not big enough and early enough, because you'll just chase the market down. So yeah, I don't think we're still. And I know it's a hot topic for you. I still don't think we're being, on average, I don't think we're being honest with vendors as much as we should be.
No,
Whether it be initially on marketing or during the marketing, we're loath to ask for a price reduction or be honest on price.
for those of you that want some great stats on overvaluing, ladies and gentlemen, of all the properties that have come onto the market and subsequently went sold subject to contract in 2026, so they've come on, they've listed and SSTC'd in 26, 80.1% of them didn't have a price reduction. 80.1 didn't have a reduction. The timing of a price reduction is important, though, Rob. I've been given a new toy by Sprift, okay, and we've been analysing when you do the reduction, the propensity for the property to subsequently sell. And what is
Okay.
interesting is this: is that there is a drop between listing it on day one as good versus reducing it, say, within 2 or 3 weeks. But if you reduce it within 2 or 3 weeks, the chances of it selling are not that vastly different. But if you wait 12 weeks, it just drops like a bloody stone.
Everyone's seen it. Everyone's bored of it. And again, the price reduction probably still isn't big enough. It probably still needs to be bigger than the price difference when you value it. So yeah,
I
doesn't
think
surprise me. The longer you wait, the less likely you're going to sell.
I think it really it comes down to is, you can always test the market, and as long as you're um being honest with the vendor from day one, there's no problem, I think, testing it for 2 weeks and then getting the price down straight away. Doesn't that? But it's the ones that say X and then blame the market in week 12.
Yeah.
Just atrocious. And I tell you what would cure it: no sole agency agreement periods. Then the big boys and girls wouldn't be able to hide behind a 26-week contract.
Yeah, the 26 weeks are the killers, aren't they?
They certainly are. And they're there to protect the estate agent, not the. Anyway, I was about to get on my soapbox there, and I thought,
No,
oh, no, we don't
that's
need
not
that.
like you.
Me on the soapbox. 23,554 properties sold subject to contract. How does that compare with last week? Let's just pull the stats up. Here we go. So last week, in terms of properties sold, oh come on, oh come on. Sorry, I'm not in my office today. I'm just renting an office. There we go. Here we go. So last week sales was 23,800. The week before 24,135. The week before 24. So I'll just pull that back. Here we go. So that's the gross sales, including pre-COVID levels. And this one here, now I've accentuated, ladies and gentlemen, the scale on the left hand side, but I think this graph here tells us everything in one graph of what the market has done. Okay, so red is 25, blue is 24, and yellow is 23. Okay, and you can quite clearly see here before Easter that 2026 was in second place. 25 was an exceptional year, and 26 was in second place, with 24 in third, and then 23rd, lagging really behind. We went through the ups and downs and the roller coaster of the Easter and spring bank holidays, but it's this here. Look, we should be
Should be up on the blue.
Should be on the blue. Now, what is quite nice, Rob, is that the gap between the blue and the white has narrowed slightly
Yeah.
here compared to here, but this is I think this is the market in one picture. The simple fact is that we're not selling as many and again, this is the absolutely scary thing is let's just remind ourselves how many properties were for sale back in 2023. Okay, I think this is really important. 632,000 versus 760,000. So the number of properties that are currently on the market is just under 20% more, and we are selling probably 3 or 4% more, if that. There's the issue. And that's why taking overpriced crap on the market is the cancer that's eating this industry from within.
Yeah, I think we've seen. I think we spoke about it. We've seen a bit of a slowdown in June of new buyers coming into the marketplace.
Because you're big,
And
you're big on. I love you for this. You're big on applicant numbers, which again I can't measure.
Yeah, new applicant registrations, new people coming into the market who we've not spoken to before, and that took a bit of a dive end of May into June, which again we had a conversation
We did
about.
do.
That's still not picking up. We're still not seeing the level of new buyers that we were doing last year and the year before. Um, the only challenge that leaves is there's still, and I say this all the time, there's still good buyers out there, but you've got to be the agent who sells to them. You can't just fall asleep one morning and then wake up and have a few deals coming over the weekend because you've got some stock. The buyers are out there. There are hot buyers wanting to transact and move in the next 3 to 6 months, and you've got to make sure they buy off you. And there's two. I spoke to one of the officers yesterday. There's two ways to do that, and the biggest way to do that is have the best house on the street, and or the most cost-effective or priced sensibly house on the street, and the buyer will buy off you. Your sales will go up. But if you sit on your stock at the minute, they're not going to buy. They're not going to buy off you. They're not going to buy anything on the street because they're going to sit and wait and see where the prices drop a bit in the summer.
So right. You're so right. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see why we get Rob back on the show. He just tells it like it is. You know, a state agency isn't hard. It's all about getting the house, being called out to the vowel. So what are you doing to get called out? If you looked at most Facebook accounts, all they're doing is posting other listings. I ain't going to get you called out. The next problem is losing it on the sofa to cheap fees or overvaluing. And the last one is getting the house sold. Now, again, to be successful, if you've got to be putting a house on the market and selling it within the next couple of weeks to be paid on it before Christmas, ladies and gentlemen, because from this point up, from probably the end of July onwards, this is your pipeline for Q1. And can I remind you, Q1 is the toughest quarter, isn't it, Rob?
It is for cash flow, and for getting exchanges through. It
Oh,
is a challenge.
so again, let's just remind ourselves that so it's not all doom and gloom, but you've just got to work smarter. You've got to work harder. You've just got your marketing's got to be better. You've got to be able to beat cheap fees and overvaluing. What I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is this: if you're watching this and you haven't already, I offer for anyone 30 scripts on how to beat cheap fees, overvaluing, and how to get price reductions. And if you text the word free scripts to my WhatsApp number, which is 07950 147 572, 07950 147 572. If you WhatsApp to me, I will send you 30 scripts on how to be overvaluing cheap fees and also get your price reductions. And they do work, okay? And there will be no sales follow-ups or anything. I'll just send it to you and I will not follow you up. Right, okay. Let's move on. The price difference between the average price coming on the market and the average pro sold, a difference of 14.4%. The price difference, 462 versus 372. Can I just preface that by basically saying we're not saying all 142 all properties that come on at 426 sell for 372. Can I remind you, lower price properties have a higher propensity to sell, which means that does drag the average down on the selling stuff. So it's the gap we want to look out for. And again, we can see here that every single July and August, there is a droppage of the average price of a property coming on the market. What is that? That's London, and it will continue to drop, and it will get to about here. And then in the first week in September, she will go from 400 all the way up to about 475 because of London. That's what those little yellow lines are that you can see there. Again, just something to keep an eye on. Anything on that, Rob, before we move on to the
No.
Resi sell through rate? What percentage of the properties you had on your books did you actually sell? 13.8%, which is in line with long-term averages, slightly below, but about right. So again, did you sell more than 13.8% of the homes that you had on your market? Again, I say it most weeks. If you ask most agents during the COVID, what percentage of the houses are you shifting? Only ever got to 30%, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to price sales fall through, 5,697 with an average fall through rate of 24.19. There's your fall through rate, steadily rising as it always does because you've got your sales that took place in the Jan, Feb starting to fall through if they do. Again, those are your numbers there. Again, the red line showing the trend. And again, the most important graph is what percentage of your sales pipeline fell through. And it's 5.07, which is in line with just below the long-term average, which is, as you can see on the red line, dropping slightly. Anything on fall throughs?
Just the next 2 months, it's vital to keep your pipeline live. So fall through rates, people go on holiday, communication drops, people that you can see how much stock's available. Yeah, people change their minds. I know it's real challenge in an estate agency business because you've got staff on holiday, you've got vendors and purchasers on holiday. Communicate. I'd be all over my pipeline, making sure I'm communicating with it so it doesn't fall out of bed over the summer, because you're not going to replace it and flog it and exchange on it and bank it by Christmas. So keep what you've got.
So right,
Or exchange on it ideally, but if you can't exchange on it, make sure you don't lose it.
Indeed. Okay, net sales, which is gross sales less the fall throughs this week, 17,859. Year to date, we are on 519,000, which is a good 35,000 less, well, a bit more than that, less than last year. But again, net sales were good last year. We're about identical to what we were in 24, and we are 12.5% ahead of 23. But again, let's remind ourselves 23 was not a particularly nice year. Net sales, there's the graph there. And again, it's just nice to see. And again, we will just see to the next graph that the white line was starting to head in the direction of the pink line, which is not what we wanted, which was 2023, thankfully. And look how close the gap is narrowing to the yellow line, which is 24. So fingers crossed we can get back to 24 levels, because we certainly weren't in those magic week 20 to 24. Look how awful that was. So fingers crossed we can bring it back to around those sort of level 18 and 19,000, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got the stock to do it, Chris. That's the one thing. And if you look on that graph, 23 went past 20, 24 went past 25, didn't it, in the last?
Yeah. Although
24 went past 25 in the last quarter, we've got even more stock on the market. So the common sense says if we do the job properly, then the white line should go above the yellow line if we do the job properly.
Let's not forget that there was a uplift in sales in Q4 24 because of the stamp duty holiday coming to an end at the end of Q1 25. But it's still important. The magic thing, ladies and gentlemen, is we just got to track that white line and see how close she gets to the yellows, because yellow and red is good, pink is bad. Okay, we'll move on. Price changes as a percentage of listings, gross sales as a percentage of listings. We've had the figures through. Again, these numbers will continue to change throughout July whilst the June numbers come through. But again, 60,000 properties exchanged, and near as damn it, 60,000 withdrawals Think of all that money you spent with your drone photography and your professional photos and your floor plans, and you still didn't sell it. Again, this is basically a symptom of the fact that you're overvaluing and then stuff. I mean, thank God this is not sticking on the market and dragging the market down, because the last thing we need is a 2008 where we had 1.4 million homes on the market. That's what dragged prices down, ladies and gentlemen. Which means that in June so far, this number will change. 50.9% of homes exchanged, whilst the other 49.1 withdrew. It's just not good enough. Just not good enough. Anything on that before we finish on this first section?
No, we've talked about that
We
enough.
have talked about this, haven't we? Yeah, we are nicely. We're like a broken record. But people say, Chris, why do you keep banging on about it? Because it's the truth. And if at least one of you can decently value and not pay your valuers. It's interesting, Rob. I was talking to someone who runs a decent operation, and he says, I want to be more profitable. And I'm thinking, I want to know how many branches I need to open. And we went through, and he's got 15% market share. And I said, well, that means 85% of the people in your town are not choosing you. And it's going to be a damn sight easier to go from 15 to 20 than it is to open up a brand new branch, because they're not cheap things nowadays, are they?
No, very expensive.
Number of properties for sale and the number of properties that are in agents' pipelines. Okay. Anything that you want to get off your chest now, or you can save it to the end when we've been to Northampton?
No, we'll save it to the end.
Good stuff. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the first part of the show. Rob and myself will be now transporting ourselves to the beautiful East Midlands city. I don't. Is it a city or a town? I don't know actually. I've got a sneaky feeling it's a town.
Northampton Town Football Club.
There you go. We're going to Northampton now and finding out who is the best estate agent in Northampton. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're using a piece of kit called Insight. Insight is from the firm 20EA. They have a number of different platforms, but Insight is the one that we're using today. The best way to describe Insight is Rightmove Plus on steroids. It looks at the last 5 years plus the year that we are in. The amount of data blows Rightmove Plus out of the water. And there is some absolute wonderful data in here which proves not only where you are in the marketplace, but you can use it to get called out to more valuations and also beat cheat fees and overvaluing as well. So without further ado, let's go and have a look. Just so you're aware, this piece of kit is available to agents. There is a free version. There is a version with 10 postcode districts, which again, I'm not on commission. I do get given this free of charge, by the way, and that gets me the data in the first part of the show and gives you the data that you're about to show now. But there's a 10 postcode district version, which costs the price of a decent Chinese takeaway with a couple of bottles of wine for 4 people. Okay, there's a regional version and then there's a national version as well. And the only difference is the geographical reach of what data you can get. If you're watching this on a mobile phone, my advice is that you would stop right now and go and watch on at least a laptop, if not something bigger, because this is spreadsheet heaven. There's a lot of data that we're going to go through, and we're going to spot out where the agents are working really well and where the agents need to improve. Are you ready, Rob?
Yep.
Here we go. So we are looking at Northampton, okay? And the first thing and just so you're aware, the postcode districts that we are using is N1 all the way through to N5, okay? We are looking at, in terms of, let's go and have a look at the details. So the first thing we're doing is from the 1st of the 1st, 21 to the 12th of July, 26, which is yesterday. The measurements that we can measure, as you can see on the screen here, exchange fall throughs, new instructions, price changes, relists, SSTCs and withdrawals. For the purposes of this, we're just looking at the new instructions. We will look at the other stuff in other detail in other screens. In the last 5.5 years, 32,630 properties have come onto the market in Northampton. And again, you can look at this through different types of properties. I've switched off new builds because it just muddies the water. You can go down to postcode sector level if you so desire, and you can change it by price. So you can see here, let's have a look. So the average price is 293. Let's just make a mental note of that. I'll just put that down myself. Okay, Rob, you know the form. Shout up when you see something you like. And bloody hell, mate, look at this.
Yeah,
Immediately we can see here that there appears to be two very dominant agents. That's quite rare, isn't it? And look at those
it
numbers.
is. And a massive gap, not a small gap, but a huge gap between
Massive.
everybody else.
I tell you what we'll do is we'll pull up those Facebook accounts just to see what they're doing, but
Yeah,
that is a massive gap.
and a big swing from mid 2024 when you look at that graph.
Well, let's have a look.
2024, they weren't far away from each other, and then Jackson Grundy seems to have escalated on instructions.
So let's go and have a look and just see who's moving and who's shaking. So the yellow line, it doesn't come across particularly well on a script on back on white. We must see if we can get that changed. But you can see here they were the dominant agent, 21, 22. Their market share dipped. Then it looks like they had a great 24. They've dipped in 25, but looks like they've pulled their socks up since 2026. The average price is 283, which is very in line with the average of 293. It's not bad, is it? Big numbers. So I wonder what
Yes.
happened. I wonder what happened that made them grow in 23, drop in 24 and early 25. I mean,
Well,
look at
yeah.
that.
If you look at I think if you we look at I got it round the wrong way. If you look at a Reardon bond, it looks like they've absolutely kicked it in the last 18 months. So is
Look
it
at
what
that.
they're doing that Jackson and Grundy aren't? If you know what I mean.
I mean, you know, but look, O'Riordan's were growing anyway, whilst Jackson's were growing in 22, 23. So who were O'Riordan's taking business off? Interesting. That's a look at that. I mean, that's an impressive growth there, isn't it? By
That is a
O'Riordan
growth
Bond.
that everybody would want. Well, that's on instructions, is it? So yeah,
We will be
let's
looking at
see
exchanges
if
in
it's the
a second.
same on sales.
Okay. So your move, this will be one of their franchises. Let's have a look. I mean, that's decent numbers for you move.
Yeah.
7, 8%. And normally 6 or 7% would put you right in the mix with the big boys and girls. But that's not a gap. That's a wow. Let's go and look at Connells. Do we got the usual Christmas spikes? Yep. Let's just have a quick look. There we go. You can always rely on Connells for the Boxing Day spikes. There we go. Looks like you've had a slightly tougher last couple of years than previous years. Let's go and look at Horts. Steady drift downwards. Average price 296 in line. So we haven't no one with the posh agents have come in yet. Taylor's nice and steady at around that 4% mark. William H. Brown, part of the Connell sequence group. Again, a slight drift downwards. Hart. Again, a slight drift downwards. Stonehills estate agents. Decent growth there, mate. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, Stonehills, like they're posh agents. We will look at the upper quartile in a second. We'll just let the numbers do the talking here. Oh, Cheltenham Brown, you looks like you've picked your socks up. Richard Greener, slight drifting downwards. Belvoir. Again, as I said, looks like you had a decent 22, but just 2%. Need to improve there. Purple Bricks. I saw they published that the fact is they pulled their socks up in the last few months. There we go.
Maybe not.
John and Co. Okay, so they're about 4%. Okay. Less than 1%. Yeah. Again, around 1 or 2% there. Again, we'll just let the numbers do the talking here. You move, that's one of not your direct ones, but part of your gang. Jackson Shops, there we go. Let's just have a quick look at the most recent. Let's look at the last year just to see if there's anyone coming up on the. Let's have a look. So again, Rob, we can see here is that you know O'Riordan's are really are pulling some socks up, but you can tell that Jackson Grundy have pulled that. That there was a a 5% gap there as they're pulling their socks up. So who are Jackson Grundy taking off? I tell you what, I wonder, I bet there's a little bit of ding dong with that. Oof, my word. Any other new ones coming up? Not really, not really at all. John and Co, they're a bit more than they were. So a quick look. What we find, ladies and gentlemen, is that everyone tends to stay in their lane and it doesn't grow that much, which again means the predictability. You almost know what you're going to get, unless you are one of the big boys and girls. I mean, look at that O'Riordan at 19% market share. That's really, really good.
That's huge.
Just wow. Let's look at the upper quartile. Let's just look at the upper quartile just to see if there is anything moving and shaking. We'll go poke £1,000,000. I doubt it'll be that much because we're not in the countryside. And yeah, there's not many. So it looks like Fine and Country are the agent there of choice. Stonehill's at number 2. Jackson Stops. So none of the big boys and girls are to be seen there, but I wouldn't expect that. Okay, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay. Let's have a quick look at this is and we'll have a better look at this in a second. I'm just going to take a photograph, Rob, of this. Okay. Right. So I've just taken their market share over the last 5 years of listings. Let's go and look at exchanges. Okay. So Jackson Grundy's listings 14.85% market share, 17.7. If your exchange percentage is higher than your listings market share, that is a great sign that you're a good estate agent because you're selling more than what you're putting on compared to your competitors. O'Riordan's 15.4% on listings. Oh no, hold on a second. 14.28% on listings and 15.4. So what that's telling me is Jackson Grundy, I would hazard it, we will have some better detail, are slightly outperforming O'Riordan Bond in terms of their exchange to listings ratio. Not much, but it's a bit there. Your move 6.69 on listings, 7.45. That's good. O'Connell's 6.64 on listings, 4.97. So again, Connells, you are exchanging lower than your listing. Hort's 4.65 on listings, 4.74 on exchanges. Taylor's 4.26 on listings and 3.97. So again, slightly below there. Yeah, and then all much less. We'll go into a bit more detail on that one in a second, Rob. But that's a great way to judge an estate agent. Okay. Anything you want to say on that before we move on?
No, just intrigued to see what they're both doing.
Okay, so a lot of data here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Rob, just jump in whenever you see something you want to say. Don't have to ask permission. So, new instructions. When it says this year's market share, that's July 25 to July 26. Last year is July 24 to July 25. And you can see here that John and Co have grown their market share on new instructions in the last between the 2 years. Stonehills have improved, as have William H. Brown, whilst the big boys and girls down slightly with O'Riordan's and Jackson Grundy also down slightly, but again off huge numbers. So I'm not particularly concerned.
And by the looks of it, some of the others are catching them up because they're overvaluing and putting them on and not flogging them.
Potentially, we will be able to look at those stats in a second. Right, okay, so what have we got here, ladies and gentlemen? I want you to ignore new instructions and new instruction market share. I want you to ignore sold subject to contract and sold subject to contract market share. These are where the true, real magic, these 4 columns here. Exchange percentage, withdrawn percentage. Rob, just confirm to me if you add up the percentage of on each line.
100%.
100%, because thanks, you've done this before, haven't you? I told you.
You don't exchange on it, you withdraw it.
There you go. But this is where the magic, true magic happens here, ladies and gentlemen, is this, that in the 5 postcodes that we've mentioned in the last 2 years, a read and bond of exchange contracts on 72.5% of the homes that have left their books, which is a hell of a lot better than the town average at 57.3. As Jackson Grundy at 71. My word, there's not much between those two boys and girls. I tell you what, they're neck and neck. There's nothing so far to beat them. Nothing at all. Let's just have a quick.
Other than the volume, other than the gross numbers.
Yeah, but again, it's not. It's not. Let's just have a quick look. Just see if anything's changed in the last year. Let's just look at the year on its own. Right, so now Jackson's are at 74 and O'Riordan's are at 71. That's interesting because we said that the exchange ratio, we said that this a few minutes ago, the exchange ratio for Jackson Grundy was slightly better. So it isn't much, but let's just put that into a calculator. Let's just do that. Okay, hold on. Because this is where the power of data is. So if I was a valuer at Jackson Grundy, so I'm going to put 74.44 divided by 71.43. I could say, if I was Jackson Grundy, that I have a 4.2% greater chance of selling a home. It's not, that ain't worth getting out of bed for, is it?
That's
But
in. That's
no.
not going to wash, is it? Because
But
yeah,
but if I was Jackson Grundy and I was up against, say, one of the corporates, and I divided 74 into something in the mid 40s, let's just do that, just for what same and giggles. So 71 divided by 45. I have a 57% greater chance of selling your house. That's worth getting out of bed.
powerful message that is.
Very powerful. So we can see there, we can look at the numbers, do the talking there, but it's so pleasing to see, Rob, that the two biggest agents have got the two biggest exchange. They look like
Proper.
powerhouses.
They are proper estate agents, aren't they? I've been for a long time, but the only thing that looks like is that which will have affected O'Riordan Bonds exchange rate is they look like they've had a bit of a campaign on putting more properties on the market in the last 6 to 9 months, and they won't have come through in their exchange numbers as yet. To so it could be in the next 6 months it might even itself out a bit and catch
Could
up.
do, could do. But this is, I've never seen this where you've got two big agents and they are the daddies. They're
Yeah,
the daddies and mummies of the exchange. That's amazing to see.
I
Less than
think they do
1%.
dominate in terms of numbers of offices in Northampton, don't they? I think they've got plenty of offices they all that throws together.
I don't know. Do you mind just having a quick look as I just finish off on this screen? Just
Yeah,
see
of course I can.
less than 1% at 72. Again, let's just put this one. Let's just put this one in. I think you should be changing to less than 2% on that one because your numbers are really good. 72.65 divided by the average of 56.18. So, you could say at less than 1%, renamed less than 2%, you have a 29.3% greater chance of moving home with me compared with the average Northampton agent. Just shout it when you get the information, my friend. But there's some, look, I mean, again, I'll keep coming back to it. How the hell are you going to beat these two here? Because they just, look, they're blowing you out the water here, ladies and gentlemen. They really are blowing you out of the water. This is really good estate agency. Okay, we'll have to
They
see.
have got multiple. They've both got quite a lot of offices across Northampton. Both of them.
Mm. But you don't.
But you can't take anything away from the fact that to be fair to them, that the volume is going to come from the number of offices that they've got, but the conversion rate still means they know what they're doing.
Can't argue with that, mate. Can't argue with that. Right, let's just get fall through rates. The average is 25. Is there anything that's particularly high? There's one there. Taylor's at 32. What are you guys doing? But everything else is pretty much in line. Price changes. Lots of price changes there, mate. Average, wow, 1 in 5 homes. The UK average is 1 in 4 in 10, not 1 in 2. So what are you doing there? Some big price changes there. Your move at 57. Yeah, a bit high there. Um, Are you overpricing? Don't know. We'll see. We've got a screen that finds that out. Anything on that before we move on? Right.
Only going back to your point, the the price changes must be meaningful for the ones that are doing them. Certainly Jackson and Grundy and O'Reilly and Bond, because they've got 53% and 45%. They're doing a lot of price reductions. So whether they do them quickly, going back to your point, whether they try it, doesn't work, get the price reduction, sells it, that sort of tells me that even if they're a bit top heavy initially, they're getting the price right really quickly.
We don't have that data, although I'm getting it, but I haven't got it. I've got it in beta form at the moment. It's really good fun. What that's telling me, Rob, is that if they are getting their price down, they're getting it quickly because that exchange ratio would not be that
No, it
high.
wouldn't.
It nowhere near would it be that high. Okay. Right, let's move on. Right, this is the overvaluing screen. There's a lot happening here. So lots of data, and we'll just go through it. First screen is the yellow, which is the orange line, which is the overvaluing. So they look at the last 2 years of your listings. They've already got an AVM and an automated valuation model, a bit like a figure, a bit like a Valpal figure, and then they compare that with what you put it on the market for. And on average, a Reed Bond 1.85% over what they thought it was worth. Jackson Grundy at 1.26, Connells at 1.87. Well, we'll let the numbers do the talking there. So let's just remind ourselves who was the ones that was price changing the most. There we go. So look, 53 with Reardon's and 45 with Jackson Grundy. But Jackson Grundy had the higher exchange ratio. So if we go here, look, Jackson Grundy are not overvaluing as much, which means again not having to reduce as much, which means that their exchange ratio, you could say, well, there ain't that much difference, 2 or 3%, but we're looking here. We're looking here at the difference between probably 10 or 20 exchanges, which again is nothing to sniff at, is it?
No.
No, it isn't. Right. Right. What price did you achieve from the original asking price? And on average, O'Riordan's exchange contracts 4.5% less than the original asking price. Jackson Grundy 4.02, and we'll let the numbers do the talking. There's no particular spikes in there that particularly concern me, but again, nice big chunks. So here, the average agent overvalues by 1.24, and then 3.8% less than the original, not the final asking price. A lot of people don't like percentages, so we move it over to this here, average listing price. If everyone put on a £300,000 house, what would you achieve for it? An O'Riordan Bond would achieve £384 less than the average Northampton agent. Jackson Grundy at less 614 less. Your move 2,135. Connell's coming in at 3,100, and so is Taylor's at 3,000. So again, Connell's could say, yeah, okay, you've got. I mean, let's just remind ourselves, okay, with Connell's, yeah, you have a 4.5. You have a that's 45%, so that would be 9 out of 20 chance of moving.
But I might get you £3 more.
But I might get you £3 more. Whilst the retort back from O'Riordan and Jackson Grundy is, I might get you £500 less than the average agent.
But I'm going to sell it.
But I've got a 7 out of 10 chance, a 7.5, 3 out of 4 chance of selling. Just amazing how data, and it surprises me how agents don't use data. Maybe it's because they're just a bit scared of numbers. You shouldn't be. Who sells houses the quickest? And okay, we just need to put. Hold on a second. Let's get Northampton up there. I was looking at the national figures there. Here we go. And if you want your house sold quickly, a Reed Bond, new instruction to completion, 145 days. Now, the average 48 days to find a buyer is the Northampton average, and O'Riordan's are at 30 days. There's those great guys and girls at Belvoir, 55 days and 165 days to get it through to completion. Let's go. Jackson Grundy's are taking 39. This is a nice market. So I bet you there's not much, if stuff's selling that quickly, there isn't that much second-hand stock. So therefore, any agents who are looking to grow in this business, you need to be called out first. And what the hell are you going to do to get called out to them? We're going to have a look at their marketing. We're going to look at their Facebook accounts and have a look, Rob. Let's look at lists on lettings, and we can see here that Well, as expected, open rent taking 1 in 5 of your properties. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, 51.2% of the houses that have come on the market with open rent in the last 3 years were previously on the market with a high street agent. They've took it off you. The number of rental properties has not dropped in the UK. It's just taking them away from you and you're doing it to landlords. So what are you going to do to bring them back? If only there was this new piece of legislation, Rob, that you could use as a lever to get, that would be great, wouldn't it?
It would. As it's more challenging to get the right tenant in and keep them and get the right rent for it, or increase the rent to the right rent. So yeah, lots of challenges for landlords who are self-managed.
There you go. Right, let's see what's happening here. So, your move, not a decent market share, a Reardon bond. Okay, there's not big agents here. Cheltenham Brown are dropping. Whites, Belvoir. We'll just let the numbers do the talking, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Jackson Grundy. Again, remember, if you're looking at it, you're an independent agent. The value is in the lettings book, not the agency itself. The agency will pay you now. The lettings book will give you the lump sum when you retire. Just whiz through Nicholas Humphreys, the student lets market. There we go. We'll just go down to number 20. There's Northern. That's one of yours, isn't it?
There's
It's all pretty much of a muchness there. I'll tell you what we'll do is let's go and have a look and see what these two big agents are doing. And we've got to work out. So the first one is Jackson Grundy. Here we go. Okay, so 6 months of Jackson Grundy. What's all this? We look back at. Let's just have. Can you hear the music, Rob?
no. Oh, sort of.
You're not sure. Hold on. Let's have a look.
It dipped in and out.
What about now?
Yes.
Can you hear it now? Okay, a little self-indulgent.
Turn me around, right upside down, spin me like a globe and drop your finger on me. I feel so far.
Okay. Oh, go. Yep, let's look. Nice. Okay, here we go.
There, and it feels like summer.
Not bad. What we got here? Okay. Again, why should I watch this? Why is this of interest to me? Okay.
These are the golden days, the kind we're gonna miss. Some little thing feel.
Oh, at last.
I've seen a lot of cottages over the years, but here are my 3 favourite things about Stoneacre.
Everywhere, everything. Wanna love you to food for the words to eat. Till our fingers.
Firstly, one of my favourite things were in Bisworth, right in the heart of the village, but tucked away.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Well done, young man.
Baby, baby, to your tent, only one.
Okay, at least it's not all fine and country. Oh, a cat. A cat. Are you a dog or a
This is
cat
not your
person?
average listing.
Dog.
Today we are at Ardington Road in this fantastic family home, bursting with personality from every corner.
Okay, it's not bad. Okay. Lacking titles here. Who's this? Oh, hello. I mean, it's very nice, but it's not groundbreaking, is it?
No.
Okay,
Very
let's go.
crisp, clear, and professional.
Yeah, I'll give them that. I'll give them that. Right, a Reardon bond. Let's have a look at these bad boys. Here we go. Listing, 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 listing.
Clear definition already between the two.
I mean, good photos, but I'd love to know what the hell they're doing. This is boring as hell. I mean, don't get me wrong. This was pretty average. Well, better than average, but and ladies and gentlemen, Reed and Bond. I'm not being. I'm just, you know, what the hell are they doing to keep that market share? Because it's certainly not coming through in their marketing here. Yeah, must be doing something right, mate. Probably working their database.
Ringing up people and making sure people know who they are and they're
There you
still
go.
around.
That's classic estate agency. Interesting. Yeah.
So looking at that, if you were one of the other estate agents in Northampton and looking at the socials and just the market share and some of the numbers, where would you start and what do you think you'd be doing if you wanted? Because there's a lot of catching up to do, but there's a big marketplace. So what would you be doing, Chris? Do you reckon?
Three problems of estate agencies: number one, being called out; number two, losing it to overvaluing and cheap fees; and the third one is getting the house sold. By the sounds of it, the two big estate agents in the town don't have a problem on all of them, either of them. So your biggest issue is how the hell do you get called out to more valuate? How do you be one of the agents that at least has a chance to get called out? All I know with the agents that I work with, that there are three solutions to be called out to more valuations. The first one is presenter-led video tours, done in a particular way where you're not. I'd start off with the person with the property over my shoulder, and start off and I'd make sure that the isn't just like a picture of a house. You start off with the agent, and you'd have the name of the village underneath, like Oxborough, and 4-bed detached. So it does what it says on the tin. You're old enough to remember the Ron seal. It does what it says on the tin. So it's not just random picture. You start off with, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom semi, have I got something for you? Verbal walk round using the word I love, not you will like, because again, people will love that. And then telling people, as I said, why you love it. That goes down really well, because then you can put that on a USB stick and use it in your touting for when you go round. Write these down for your franchisees, mate. You know, and then you put them on USB sticks and put them through the letterboxes of homeowners that are on the market with their agent, saying this is how we sell houses. And because you're saying I love it, and well, what you do is you put it on a USB stick and a letter with a QR code that you can generate for free off on Canva, which says watch the video either on the USB stick or on this QR code, which takes you through to YouTube. And then at the end it says, if you want to sell your, give me a call. That's how I would do it. So the video buyers like, vendors like, and you use it as a tout. That's the first one. Second one is get involved in the community. I did see one of the agents hold the check. Get involved with the community. If you're in Northampton, 100% of your Northampton homeowners are involved with that. And the third thing, which is probably the most important, is this. Rob, you're at a party. You know that party your missus drags you to? You know those
What,
parties.
that you don't really want to go to?
No, not those kind of parties. I know where, but you know where. I keep saying you're punching with your missus, mate. And we all know that for a fact. Yeah. Sorry, you got me off the trick there. You you're at a party. You met the owners because they've invited you. They go through to the garden. You're in the back garden. You're talking to some random couple, and you all say, "What do you do for a living?" And they find out you're an agent. I can guarantee you what the next question is. What's that question, Rob?
Probably what's the market like at the
What's the
moment?
market like? Neither of those two agents are talking about what's happening in the Northampton property market. So my advice to you would be to talk about the Northampton property market. It is what's happening to house prices, what's happening to rents, what's happening to yields, that sort of thing. Doing this sort of thing. Let's just briefly before we finish, let me just share with you what I think what good looks like. Okay. Let me take you to this agent here. Okay. Here we go. Cavendish. Here we go. It's an agent in Chester. So he puts his listings on, but he also puts something like this on. Gets involved in the community. Yep. There you go. UK stuff, but then he also does regional stuff as well. Just find out some more stuff. There we go. Chester's 1,634 large garden homes. And if you go through and click on it, there's an article there that talks about all the number of homes in Chester that have a quarter to a half acre garden and how often they come on the market and what people with those sort of properties should do to maximise their price. This is what you should be doing. Talking about, there, look, the number of homes that are semi-detached. That's what I would be doing. Presenter-led video tours, get involved with the community and talk about the property market. Savills have been doing it for years and so should you. That's my advice. If anyone wants any more information on how to get all that, then do give me a call. My telephone number is 07950 147 572. But it can be done. I've seen agents, those two big agents, let them get on with it. You can start eating some of their pie.
And what do you know about GEO?
GEO, go on.
That's the main source of that AI is finding estate agents these days. Not SEO. PPC's dropping. GEO is all about what you're doing locally. That talks about where you live, so that people don't ask these days what's the best estate agent in New Reardon, but in Northampton, they'll ask a different type of question, and AI finds it in a different way. So you've got to have all the stuff that you're talking about. You need to be local. You need to be informative. You need to be talking about what's going on, newsworthy in your marketplace, but make sure it's on your website. Make sure you got blogs. Make sure you got all that sort of stuff, because that is the way that Google now is going to find estate agents when people ask the question. There you go. You didn't know for 56-year-old bloke would have the first idea what he was talking about, would you?
That's you, mate. Finger on the pulse. There you go. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, it was good value for money. Rob, we'll come to you in a second for some final words. If you are a Northampton estate agent or any agent and you want to know how to create that sort of content for your agency, do give me a shout. I can give you some free templates, or I do offer a service where I can ghostwrite it for you. But talk about the local market is the key. So it's been working for Savills for decades and it can work for you as well. Don't just whack your listings on. Rob, final words from you, mate.
Easy. In the summer period, when everybody's the busiest, this is the market I would be working with my most motivated sellers and my most motivated buyers. Deal with the people who want to transact in the next 3 months, but make sure they buy off you. If you haven't got one on the market for them, go find one in your database. Go hunt down on the street and find something for them, because motivated sellers will buy in the next 3 months. Make sure they buy off you.
Absolutely wide words. You can see why we're getting back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob is absolutely fantastic. Rob will get you back in 2 or 3 months' time for another show. Thank you for your time and thank you for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time for the next Property Market Stats Show. Thank you very much.